Good evening to everyone. We are starting this program. We are waiting so much for this program to happen. Welcome all of you. There are more than 100 people sitting in this hall. More are joining in slowly. Welcome all of you. Welcome to all those who are on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Welcome to all the 58 organizations that have come together to organize Stan Swamy Memorial Lecture. This lecture that we have organized today is an act of resistance. Resistance to suppression of freedom of expression. Resistance to bulldozing of democracy and our constitution. It is an act of resistance to attempt to intimidate those marginalized sections of the society. It is an act of resistance to intimidate educational institutions as to what can be taught, what lectures can be arranged by educational institutions, and what cannot be. And it's being dictated by Hindu nationalist organizations, which have nothing to do with knowledge, wisdom, truth, facts, or education. They have a political agenda, and with that political agenda, with muscle power, they want to control education system. And our gathering here and organizing this lecture is an act of resistance to all that. We have scheduled the same lecture on the same topic by the same speaker, which St. Xavier's College was forced to cancel earlier, and we were all disturbed that this country cannot be run by an ideology, a political ideology, by dictatorship, by authoritarian, by muscle power. We were all disturbed, and therefore 58 civil society organizations got together, and we have organized this lecture today. Father Stan Swamy, those who were objecting to the lecture, said he had links, according to them, these were baseless allegations, that he had links with Maoists, he was anti-national and whatnot. We believe that until somebody is proven guilty, person is innocent. And today we have gathered here to make that statement, that for us, Stan Swamy was one who fought for the marginalized sections of the society. Stan Swamy was one who fought non-violently within constitutional framework, and he was succeeding in doing so by protecting Adivasis and their forests, fighting for their right to their forest and forest land, and brought in many legislations to protect their rights. Draconian acts were used to put baseless charges on Stan Swamy and other accused of Bhima Koregaon case. And it was, all of them were being defamed. We stand here together, we have gathered in this hall, on Zoom, on YouTube, on Facebook Live, to say that we do not support these charges and those individuals. We believe those allegations are baseless and false. Today evening, we have an eminent speaker who comes from the state Father Stan Swamy came from. Professor PREM XALXO, he will be introduced, he will speak to us, and he'll be introduced properly, but we couldn't have had anyone better than Professor PREM XALXO to deliver this lecture. The topic is very relevant. Not only the speaker is eminent, not only the cause is very good, but the topic is also very relevant, that Jharkhand, and we'll hear more about that lecture, which is richest in mineral resources, but poorest as far as people and Adivasis are concerned, indigenous people there are concerned, they are poorest. So the topic is relevant. It is relevant because Father Stan Swamy came. Father Stan Swamy fought for indigenous people from Jharkhand, and today's lecture will address the same topics. It tells us the story of oppressed and marginalized in this country. Welcome, Father PREM XALXO. Welcome, Senior Advocate Indira Jaising. She will be chairing this lecture. She is joining us from her residence. Couldn't come here as she has other engagements, and she has had engagements throughout the day. So she is joining with us on Zoom, and she'll be talking to us. With this, I invite Senior Advocate Mihir Desai to introduce, to tell us a few words about Father Stan Swamy. Advocate Mihir Desai is Senior Advocate practicing in Bombay High Court as well as Supreme Court of India. He is National President of PUCL, fought Bhima Koregaon cases, and many cases he has defended rights of the marginalized and the oppressed, the working class, the minorities of this country in courts as well as outside courts, defended human rights. We have an apt person to talk about Father Stan Swamy and introduce, say a few words about Stan Swamy. Mihir Desai was also a lawyer representing Stan Swamy in the Bhima Koregaon case. I invite Mihir to tell us a few words about.
Thank you, Irfan. And just to correct, I'm a national vice president of PUCL, not the national president. Well, all of you are here, those who are present here, as well as those who are on Zoom, those who are on YouTube, Facebook, etc., because even if you had not met Father Stan Swamy, at least you are familiar with Father Stan Swamy's work. And the kind of work he did both in Jharkhand, etc. Okay. So I will not, and plus there is a film, a short film which will be shown, which will introduce you to his work. So I will confine myself to just one or two things, because just to give you an idea in terms of chronology, he was born on 26th April 1937 in Tamil Nadu, in a village. Thereafter he did his, he became a Jesuit. He was the director of Indian Social Institute at Bangalore from 75 to 86. Shifted to Jharkhand. Both Ranchi, Chaibasa, I mean, that time, of course, it was Jharkhand was part of Bihar. Jhansi, Ranchi, Chaibasa, etc. Immersed himself completely in work for protecting the rights of tribals He was somebody who was not really concerned with, you know, obviously he had sympathy, empathy, etc., etc., but his work was rights-based work. His work was not charity-based work. His work was essentially, okay, focused on how to ensure that tribals get the just rights. And it is that, see, if it was a pure charity-based work, nobody would have opposed. Do some little education here, little this thing, nobody would have opposed. Because he was trying to enforce rights, because he was telling tribals that it's, I mean, you're not at the mercy of the government. You have certain rights, those have to be enforced. Okay? That is why he came under the scanner of the government. Okay? I knew him since 30 years. I used to go once in a while to Ranchi as well as Chaibasa for some legal training, some legal help, etc., etc. 2018, I got a phone call from him. 2018 is when this Bhima Koregaon FIR was lodged. And it was around August, I got a phone call from him. And in a very, very, I have said that earlier, but just for people who don't know, in a very, his soft voice, he told me, Mihir, Mihir, who is Bhima Koregaon? Okay. Now, I had to tell him that Bhima Koregaon is not a who, but a what. Okay, it's a place. Okay. This was his connection to the incident which happened. I mean, the man didn't even know that that there is a place where some violence has taken place, some remote part of Maharashtra where some violence has taken place, because of which people have been arrested, etc., etc. He was immersed in his own work. He was fighting his public interest litigation for tribals, for people who were in jail, etc., etc. So it was at that time that then I went and met him in Jharkhand and explained what the situation was. Okay? Because he was actively also pursuing the issue of human rights defenders across the country in various ways, you know. Finally, at that time he was not arrested, but after 2 years, okay, they arrested him. They took his computer in 2018, couldn't find anything from his computer. Then in 2020, again after the NIA took over, that is National Investigating Agency, again there was a raid. And suddenly they discovered from his computer, a new computer, okay, Central Committee minutes of, what do you call it, of the Maoist party, etc., etc. Yeah. And he told me that this, I have never seen this. I don't know what these things are. And by that time, we had realized that there is major planting of documents going on by the prosecution, by the establishment, on computers of people who they want to nab. So anyway, he was arrested. You see, normally what happens is that when people are arrested, okay, they seek police custody, that custodial interrogation, etc., etc. Here, as far as Father Stan is concerned, they did not ask for a minute's police custody. They said straight away put him in jail. Why? Because they knew he was frail, suffering from Parkinson's, anyway more than 80 years old, quite weak. They knew he would die if he's put in jail. It was clearly an institutional murder of Father Stan. That is what has happened. But they knew he would die in jail, but they had the mandate of arresting him. So they arrested him, put him straight in jail, not a single day's police custody, even requested by them. Forget granted or not granted. No, that was not even requested. Anyway, sent to jail. People all know SIPR was not provided, that cup was not provided, etc. There was a huge protest across the world about his arrest. Bail was denied, medical bail was denied. Matter went to High Court. He was very clear that, look, forget all this medical bail and hospital and all that. Either you allow me to go back to my people in Ranchi, or I just don't want to, or you let me be with my friends in jail. Finally, we managed to convince him his health was very bad. He was, the court allowed him to go to the private hospital, Holy Family Hospital, where which took very good care of him, but by that time it was too late. Because of the jail conditions, because of the complete failure, and I feel deliberate lack of providing him medical care and attention in the prison, okay, he nobody can fabricate this evidence except the state. Okay, let's be very clear about it. Okay, so it was done by the state, prosecuting agencies, etc. They planned it. They wanted him dead. They had him dead, but they didn't realize that in his death he'll become a martyr. He'll inspire a lot more people. Okay, he'll inspire a lot more people. Okay, to speak out, to struggle against what is happening. That is what they had not anticipated, and that is Father SWAMY, as what he has been able to achieve even after his death. And I think we need to respect him a lot for that. We need to respect him for his life, the way he struggled. Something AC or anything, a simple one fan, small room, etc., etc. That was his life. His life was with the tribals, and that is how Father SWAMY was. I don't want to speak any more because we have some important lectures and also the film. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
There are actually in Madurai, people have gathered, like we have gathered here in Mumbai, and they are seeing this lecture on YouTube. I understand that there is some sound problem and it's not going through, but we'll play Father Stan Swamy's film on Father Stan Swamy.
झारखंड में जो दो महापुरुष हुए, उन्होंने आदिवासी और जल जंगल जमीन की ही बातों को लेकर संघर्ष किया। पहले दौर के जो बिरसा मुंडा आंदोलन के रहे, उनको अंग्रेजों ने मारा और इनको फासिस्टवादी ताकतों ने मारा।
84 years old, suffering from Parkinson's disease, Father Stan Swamy dies in custody in a private hospital in Mumbai. He dies on the day of his bail hearings. Father Swamy worked with tribals in Jharkhand, charged under the Anti-Terror Act.
He was facing charges of being a terrorist. Despite his worsening health, multiple appeals for bail had been turned down. In his words, Swamy had told the Bombay High Court, "I would rather die in jail if things go on as it is." He had Parkinson's disease and his lawyers had to reach the courts to even give him access to a sipper. In a cruel irony, his death was announced in court during yet another bail hearing.
स्टैन को टारगेट करने के पीछे सिर्फ झारखंड नहीं था, पूरे भारत में जहाँ जहाँ माइंस, मिनरल्स और जल जंगल ज़मीन का जो मूवमेंट, पूरा भारत की आदिवासी बेल्ट में एक मैसेज देना था कि अगर आप जन आंदोलन करोगे तो उनके नेताओं को इसी तरह से हम किडनैप कर लेंगे, जेल में भेज देंगे और हत्या करेंगे।
मध्य भारत का जो राजस्थान से शुरू होकर तकरीबन बंगाल तक जाता है। भारत का सारी पूंजी इसके नीचे है। तेल, कोयला, खनिज पदार्थ, सोना, जो भी आप चीज़ें कहें सब इसके अंदर है। अरबों की उसमें, अरबों के खरबों की पड़ी हुई है। उसको निकालने के लिए आपको जंगल काटना पड़ता है। उसको निकालने के लिए आपको ज़मीन खराब करनी पड़ती है। ज़मीन की सतह उठाकर जब तक वहाँ नहीं पहुँचते हैं आपको कोयला नहीं मिलेगा, खनिज पदार्थ नहीं मिलेंगे। आपको लोगों को घर से बेघर करना पड़ता है। आपको पहाड़ों को काटना पड़ता है। वही पहाड़ जहाँ पे इन आदिवासियों के, ये वनवासी नहीं है, आदिवासी है, वहाँ पे जब से इंसानियत है तब से बसे हुए हैं वो। उनको बेघर करना पड़ता है। उन चीज़ों में जो एक्टिविस्ट काम कर रहे थे उसमें से एक स्टैन स्वामी थे, जो अपने एक ग्रुप के साथ उसमें काम करते थे। ग्रुप के वरिष्ठ आदमी के नाते, ग्रुप के नेता होने के नाते उसका एक फेस बन गए थे।
स्टैन एक बड़ा चेहरा बन चुके थे आदिवासियों के बीच में, और पूरी दुनिया में, सिर्फ भारत में, पूरी दुनिया में ये सवाल रेज कर गई थी कि भाई आदिवासियों का ज़मीन लूटने से जलवायु परिवर्तन हो रहा है, आदिवासी की ज़मीन लूटने से यहाँ पर कृषि पर असर पड़ रहा है, माइनिंग अधिक होने से बेरोजगारी पैदा हो रही है, माइनिंग अधिक होने से यहाँ का वातावरण प्रदूषित हो रहा है, माइनिंग अधिक होने से यहाँ पर पलायन अधिक हो रहा है। ये एक सवाल जो है वो पूरी दुनिया को रेज कर दिए थे उन्होंने। अपनी भाषा, अपनी संस्कृति, अपनी बातों से डेमोक्रेटिक तरीके से उन्होंने पूरी दुनिया को बताया।
तो हम लोग अपना शांतिपूर्वक हम लोग को चाहिए, हम लोग कुछ नहीं चाहिए। हम लोग का पूर्वज का ज़मीन है, हम लोग को आपस हम लोग होना चाहिए। हम लोग का जीविका साधन खेती बाड़ी से ही है। खेती अगर हम लोग का चला जाएगा तो हम लोग का सारा नष्ट हो जाता है। हम लोग अपना बाल बच्चा के लिए, जीवन भविष्य के लिए सोच रहा है। हम लोग को तो किसी तरह बीत ही जा रहा है, लेकिन हम लोग का भविष्य के लिए यदि हम लोग माँ बाप लोग को नहीं बचा देंगे तो बच्चा लोग कहाँ जाएंगे? भटक के कहाँ रोड में आ जाएंगे? या सरकार के क्या नीति है ये तो अब सरकार ही जाने। लेकिन हम लोग तो जिंदे जी अपना बच्चा के लिए हम लोग तो छोड़ेंगे नहीं, चाहे हम लोग उसी में नहीं दीदी नहीं डरते। पुलिस क्या करे? वो भी तो आदमी है, पुलिस है, वो अपना बंदूक है, बंदूक हम लोग गोली खाने के लिए तैयार हैं। इससे हम लोग को डर नहीं है। हम लोग को अपना ज़मीन होना चाहिए, यही हम लोग का इच्छा है। हम लोग अपना पूर्वज का ज़मीन है, हम लोग कितना पीढ़ी से आप लेके बचा के रखे हैं, इसलिए हम लोग भी अपना बचा के ही चलेंगे। हम लोग नहीं जाने देंगे ज़मीन।
जो आज हुआ, मेरी तलाशी पुणे पुलिस के द्वारा, वो हम सबों को बहुत चिंता देने का विषय है। दूसरी बार मेरी तलाशी की गई, और क्या इससे वो पता चलाना चाहते हैं वो भी हम लोगों को स्पष्ट नहीं है। लेकिन मेरी तरफ से किसी प्रकार की सही कानूनी जांच के लिए मैं हमेशा तैयार हूँ।
हम लोग ने एक समय पे सो कॉल पढ़ाई जो है नहीं करना है ऐसा था, मगर कुछ जानकारी तो होना है, तो पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन हम नहीं कर रहे थे। तो हम स्टैन को बोले कि आप ISI बेंगलोर में हैं, हम आपके यहाँ पर आना चाहते हैं, एकदम चले आओ। फादर स्टैन के वहाँ जब हम बोले कि पढ़ेंगे, और उसके पास हम गए। जब वहाँ हम थे, हमें जो सबसे ज़्यादा समझ में आ रहा था वो था कि लोगों के साथ एक दूसरे का रिलेशन क्या होना। तुम है, तुम्हारे से अगर सामने स्टूडेंट है तो स्टूडेंट टीचर का रिलेशन क्या होगा। तुम है, तुम्हारे सामने सबऑर्डिनेट स्टाफ से, तुम्हारे वहाँ पर काम करने वाले, किचन में काम करने वाले, सफाई के काम करने वाले, उसके साथ आपका रिलेशन क्या होगा। तो ये जो है, हाँ, आपसे नीचे जो लोग के साथ रिलेशन, दिल से दिल, आई लेवल रिलेशन कैसा करेंगे, ये हम स्टैन से सीखेंगे। स्टैन जो है वो उसके पास खुद के पास भी तो कोई पैसा नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है, वो हमारा टीचर है, क्या है, जो भी है, उसके बाद खुद के पास तो ये नहीं, तो वो हम लोग को क्या दे सकते थे? हमको कपड़ा, ये वो, खाना फाना तो नहीं दे सकते हैं जो एक पिताजी देता है, हा? वो हम लोग को उनका प्यार और उनका त्याग से हमको सीखने का, देखने का। तो हमने अपना ज़िंदगी में, हम लोग का समझ लो, अपना ज़िंदगी में भी हम लोग ने जिस तरीके से जिया है, वो जीने का ये उन्हीं का उससे सीखे। मेरे पास, मेरे एक फिल्म में वो इंटरव्यू दिए हैं, वो बोल रहे कि देखो मैं जब आया, गांव के लोग बाजार के दिन बाजार आते हैं, तो बाजार जो आदिवासी लोग बाजार आते हैं, वो अपना बाजार में आने के समय कुछ सामान ले आते हैं, उसको बेच देते हैं, उससे जो पैसा आता है उससे दूसरा सामान खरीद के चले जाते हैं। अब गांव से एक आदिवासी औरत आ रही है, वो अपना मुर्गी लेके आ रही है, मुर्गी यहाँ बेचेगी और ले जाएगी। उसका मुर्गी जो है आधा रास्ते में वो टाउट, हाँ, उसका मुर्गी छीन लेगा, छीन के उसको एक फटा 5 रुपया का नोट उसके सामने फेंक देगा। बोले ये क्या तरीका का डीलिंग है? तुमको मुर्गी खरीदना है, रिस्पेक्ट के साथ खरीद लो, ये क्या तुम खींच लिया हाथ से और 5 रुपया देना? ये जो डिग्निटी लेस लाइफ, ये उनको गुस्सा देता था। ये गुस्सा देने के समय वो क्या करते थे कि गांव के लोग को बोलते तुम्हारे साथ कुछ हुआ, चुप बैठने से नहीं चलेगा, चलो खड़ा हो जाओ। तो ये शुरुआत के दिनों में वो लोगों को खाली खड़ा होना, अपना विषय पे खड़ा होना, अपना विषय ऑर्गेनाइज करके प्रॉपर जगह में जाके आवाज़ उठाना, ये उनका एक ये था। कैसा लड़ाई लड़ते थे वो यही है कि खुद जाके कोई नेतागिरी करके भाषण दे के करना, ऐसा नहीं।
At that time, her chicken would be worth 20-25 rupees. She was given 5 rupees, a dirty note thrown at her. Then I said, "My God, what is happening? Here are a people who cherish their values and sharing things with nature, and here is another value system which just exploits them and deprives them of our human dignity, human respect." So once I saw this, then I used to ask my boys who were with me, I said, "You see what is happening?" They say, "Haan, father, dekhte hain. But don't we do something about it? Kya kar sakte hain?" It is at that juncture I said, I want to make something of my life for these people. What exactly that something would be, I did not know. I was very young. Afterwards, I had to go through many other years of Jesuit formation and so on. But finally, I stuck on to that dream. And that dream is still there with me. With all that has happened, with all that has gone through.
साथ में गाना, लिखना, पढ़ना, आगे की रणनीति बनाना और आगे साथ साथ चलना। उस जमात कह सकते हैं, उस जमात में उन लोगों ने, आदिवासी समाज ने उनको अडॉप्ट कर लिया, समाहित हो गए उसमें, और वो एक आदिवासी फिलोसफर की तरह चीज़ों को एक्सप्रेट करने लगे, लोगों के बीच में लाने लगे। धीरे धीरे करके लोग समझने लगे, जन आंदोलन समझने लगा, जल जंगल ज़मीन के सवालों के बीच में ये बातें आने लगी कि संस्कृति, सभ्यता और आदिवासियत ये एक अलग प्रक्रिया है, और जिसके अंदर जो ज़मीन का सवाल है, पानी का सवाल है, जंगल का सवाल है, ये सवाल जो है ये उनका हक का सवाल है, क्योंकि वो उनके बीच में हम रहते हैं और उन्हीं के साथ जीते हैं।
फादर स्टैन स्वामी को समझने के लिए उनको, उनकी भूमिका ये भारत में जो हो रहा है उसके अंदर क्या थी, समझने के लिए बहुत अत्यंत आवश्यक है कि उनका खुद का विश्वास कहाँ से आता था। वो ईसाई थे, कैथलिक थे, सोसाइटी ऑफ जीसस के मेंबर थे, जेसुइट थे, जिनका काम गरीबों में काम करना है, जिनका काम उत्पीड़न के खिलाफ आवाज़ उठाना है खुद की, और दूसरों को समझाना है कि उनकी क्या ज़रूरत है, कि उनको भी आवाज़ उठानी है। उनकी आवाज़ ना सिर्फ खुद बनना है बल्कि उनको खुद सुदृढ़ करना है कि वो अपनी आवाज़ खुद बयान कर सके। इन ट्राइबल्स के ऊपर, इन गरीबों के ऊपर क्या एक्सप्लॉयटेशन हो रहा है, क्या उनके खनिज का घर, जंगल, ज़मीन का क्या हो रहा है, उसका उन्होंने आंकलन किया, डॉक्यूमेंट किया और लेखन किया, और ये बहुत ज़रूरी है। और जब आप ये काम कर रहे हैं तो आपको आशंका हो जाती है कि आप को जो संस्था है, कोई जो ढांचा है भारत का, उसमें कुछ खरोली बचाएंगे आप। जिनका कंट्रोल है इस ढांचे के ऊपर, सरमाएदार, पूंजीपति, जो ठेकेदार हैं, जो सताव लाते हैं गरीबों के ऊपर, ठेकेदारों के जो बाहुबली हैं, कि उनका जो राज है उसको आप विचलित करोगे तो उनका प्रकोप आपको सहना पड़ेगा।
Right now, NIA is interrogating me. They have done 15 hours of interrogation, and still they want me to go to Bombay. What is happening to me is not something unique happening to me alone. It's a broader process that is taking place all over the country. We are all aware how prominent intellectuals, lawyers, writers, poets, activists, student leaders, they are all put into jail just because they have expressed their dissent or raised questions about the ruling powers of the India. So we are part of the process. As such, in a way, I am happy to be part of this process, because I'm not a silent spectator, but I'm part of it, part of the game, and ready to pay the price, whatever be it.
जब एकदम शरीर गिरते जा रहा है ऐसा, तो उसके साथी लोग जो जेल में हैं, उन लोग अपना पैसे से चंदा करके इनके लिए काजू बादाम लेके आके खाने को दिए। तो ये बोले, भाई ये बार तुम लाए, मैं खा लेता हूँ, मगर कल से ना चिनिया बादाम ले आना, हम लोग सब मिलके खा लेंगे उसको। तो ये जो कॉमरेडली, ये जो सबके साथ सामूहिकता, ये स्टैन ने फिर यहाँ रहते ये सामूहिकता आदिवासी समाज में रह के सीखे है, जो हम लोग को सिखाते थे कि सामूहिकता, जो कलेक्टिव ट्रस्ट, he has learned from this society and he was giving us that.
देखिए, 2014 के बाद सरकार बदल चुकी थी। यहाँ जो भाजपा की गवर्नमेंट आई थी, वो सीधे धर्म के सवालों के साथ वो अपने आप को स्थापित करना चाहती थी। अब स्थापित करने के लिए उनको कोई ऐसा स्पेस झारखंड में नहीं मिल रहा था, चूँकि झारखंड में 15-16 साल भाजपा का शासन रहा, लेकिन वो अपना स्पेस नहीं बना पा रही थी। तो वो एक हिंसक प्रवृत्ति को डेवलप करने की प्रक्रिया में चल चुकी थी, और इसमें उन्होंने खुटी के पथलगड़ी मूवमेंट जो खड़ा हुआ था, उस पथलगड़ी मूवमेंट में उन्होंने फैब्रिकेटेड केसेस डाला, जिसमें स्टैन, मैं और हमारे और भी कई राइटर, सोशल एक्टिविस्ट, 20 लोगों को उन्होंने टारगेट किया। हम 4 लोगों के ऊपर लगातार उन लोगों ने मॉनिटर करते रहे, और कोर्ट में केस जाने के बावजूद वो छापामारी, पुलिस भेजना, ये सारे कुछ करते रहे।
यहाँ पर निर्दोष आदिवासियों को असामाजिक तत्व के नाम पर या तो नक्सलाइट के नाम पर वो गलत तरीके से उनको फंसा के जेल में डाल दिया जाना, और लंबे समय तक उनके ऊपर में कोई विचार नहीं करना। जो विचाराधीन कैदी जिनको मानते हैं, उनको रिहाई की मांग के लिए उसके लिए भी उन्होंने स्टडी किया और उसके लिए भी मतलब एकमात्र व्यक्ति थे जो विचाराधीन कैदियों के लिए पर उन्हें न्याय दिलाने के लिए संघर्ष किया।
विचाराधीन कैदियों पर कभी चर्चा नहीं होती थी। स्टैन ने वो PIL फाइल करके ये जता दिया कि सरकारें जो भी आती है, जो सिस्टम है, वो आम जनता को कितना हैरास करती है, ये स्टैंड बताए हैं। और फर्जी इनकाउंटर, फर्जी पॉलिसी, लोगों को अनलॉफुल एक्टिविटीज जैसे मसलों में फंसाया जाना और फंसाकर उनको तंग करना, ये सारी जो चीज़ें हुई है ये दर्शाता है उनका PIL। जो बहुत बड़ा काम उन्होंने किया और जो युवाओं को जेल में बंद किया गया था वो ग्रीन हैंड प्रोजेक्ट के अंतर्गत उनको जो रिलीज कराया है, इससे स्टैंड का जो विस्तार हुआ है ग्रामीण स्तर पर, यूथ के लेवल पर उनका जो इम्पोर्टेंस बढ़ा है वो बहुत बड़ा है। और स्टैंड को इस काम, इनके जो काम है, मानव अधिकार के जो काम हैं, उनसे उनको समाज कभी भूल नहीं सकता है।
गोरख पांडे का कविता है, किस चीज़ से डरते हैं वे, किस चीज़ से डरते हैं वे, तमाम धन दौलत के बावजूद वो डरते हैं कि निहत्थे और गरीब लोग उनसे डरना बंद कर देंगे। ठीक है, तो ये जो लोगों को जागरण की प्रयास स्टैंड लिया, हाँ, वो लोगों को डरना बंद करने का प्रयास था। तो इससे तो स्टेट, वैसे लोग को तो देशद्रोह नहीं बोलेंगे तो देश प्रेमी बोलेंगे, वो देशद्रोही है। हाँ, मेरा भूख हुआ क्यों, मैं हाँ बोले ना स्टैंड का इस समय पे कि वो उसको अगर किसी को दान किसी को भीख देना है तो भीख देंगे, और उसको उठ खड़ा होकर मेरा खाना क्यों नहीं मिल रहा है पूछने को सिखाएंगे, तब वो तो जिसने सिखाया वो देशद्रोही होगा। आप लोग अगर जीसस क्राइस्ट को देखते हैं और उनका डेथ को अगर देखते हैं तो उनको बहुत सारे स्टेशन ऑफ द क्रॉस बोलते हैं, बहुत सारे राह में बहुत सारी जगह गुजरना पड़ा और हर एक जगह में उनके ऊपर यातना दिया गया। अगर आप स्टैंड को देखते हैं, उनको जो जेल में जो एक के बाद एक इतना जो यातनाएं हुआ उनके साथ, वो जीसस के जीवन के यातनाएं या कोई भी क्रांतिकारी जो कष्ट पाते हैं लास्ट में, कभी भी वो कष्ट जैसा होता है वैसा इनके अंदर में भी वो कष्ट के साथ हम जीसस का स्टेशन ऑफ द क्रॉस देखेंगे तो हमको देखेंगे कि ही रियली लिव्ड द लाइफ ऑफ अ क्राइस्ट।
84 साल का आदमी प्यास से तड़प रहा है क्योंकि ग्लास नहीं पकड़ सकता, उसको आप स्ट्रॉ नहीं देना मांगते, चप्पल नहीं देना मांगते, ऐनक नहीं देना मांगते, दवाई नहीं देना मांगते, कहते हैं मक्कारी है। उसको कह रहे हैं कि प्रधानमंत्री की जान के खिलाफ साजिश करता है, उसको आजाद रहने से प्रधानमंत्री की जान को खतरा है। इस तरीके की बेढंग का आरोप लगाकर किस तरीके से एक साजिश रची जाती है उसका एक ज्वलंत एग्जाम्पल है। हाई कोर्ट तक इनकी मेडिकल बेल रिजेक्ट कर चुका था। आखिरी पिटीशन जब हाई कोर्ट में आई तो जिस दिन उसके ऊपर सुनवाई थी, जब सुनवाई के लिए जज साहब ने कहा कि सुनवाई चालू हो, तो वकील ने खड़े होकर कहा, मेरा मुवक्किल फादर स्टैन स्वामी मर गया।
अटल हूँ और अटल रहूँगा, और जो भी इसके तहत अब सामना करना हो मैं करने के लिए तैयार रहूँगा। और जो भी मुझे जानते हैं, मेरे साथी हैं, दोस्त हैं और जो चिंतक हैं, वो उनसे भी मैं अनुरोध करूँगा कि जो मुझे हो रहा है वो सबों को हो सकता है। जो जनता के हक के लिए खड़े होते हैं उसके लिए हम लोग को तैयार रखना है।
What did it conclude in? Where did it begin? And where is it today? So, as Irfan mentioned this morning, I was at a memorial meeting for Sharad Patil, whose 100th anniversary falls today. And he was another Father Stan Swami in his own way. It is with him that I myself was introduced to the issue of the rights of Adivasis. जल जमीन जंगल की जो लड़ाई है, उस लड़ाई को मुझे जिसने इंट्रोड्यूस किया वो शरद पाटिल थे. I would like to let you know that at the time when this ladai began, there were no rights. Adivasis didn't have rights. Advocate Mihir Desai said this is a fight for rights. It's not a fight for welfare benefits. So what exactly are those rights? That is the issue that I'd like to just say a few words about before I hand over to the very illustrious speaker for the day. It is during colonial rule that the 1939 Forest Act was passed, which basically said that all forest land belongs to the British government. Now, think of what this means for Adivasis. Think of what this means for people who do not have any documentation to show that they have ownership of the land. So the key issue was ownership of land. Who owns the land? और उस समय भी ब्रिटिश सरकार और उसके बाद हिंदुस्तान की सरकार 1947 में ये सवाल पूछ रहे थे आदिवासियों से, पेपर दिखाओ, कागज दिखाओ. This is the same question that was asked to the people in Shaheen Bagh when the CAA Act was passed. Paper dikhao. And it is the same question which is being asked today in SIR in Bihar for registering people as voters. Paper dikhao. So to come back to the Adivasis, where are the papers? No, there are no papers. There is no Sat Baraka Uttara. Why is there no Sat Baraka Uttara? Because they own the land. For them, the tiller owns the land. The person who cultivates owns the land. And where is the need for any Sat Baraka Uttara if you can simply show that I have been cultivating this land for centuries? So that was the fight which began way back in the early 80s. And I'm happy to let you know that by an interim order, sometime in 1985, Justice Bharati accepted this argument that those who cultivate the land cannot be called encroachers. That was the fight. The fight was, we do not wish to be called encroachers. We do not wish to be asked to prove our very existence. And that is the fight which ultimately led to the passing of what we today call, I hope you can all see this, it's called the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act of 2006. Stan Swami's fight was to get this law implemented. So although the Adivasis got their rights in 2006, implementation was a very, very far cry. And this has been the fight of the... I'd just like to read one opening sentence from this preamble to this act, the introduction to this act. It quite simply says, forest and forest dweller tribal people are inseparable. Mark those words. Forests and forest dwellers are inseparable. And it was that attempt to separate forest from forest dwellers that Stan Swami fought against. You saw in the movie that today the threat is coming from the mining industry. You heard the speaker say that gold, minerals are beneath the land which the Adivasis own and till. And that is what the Ambanis and Adanis are asked after. That is where the mining leases are being given. And that is where the resistance comes from. So having said this, I would like to say that I would like to just say a few words about our speaker today. So, as Irfan has already pointed out to you, our very eminent speaker is Father PREM JAISING, I'm sorry if I have pronounced that name wrong, an Indian Jesuit who is an associate professor of moral theology. Pause a minute. Please try to understand the role of morality in today's politics, today's world. It is absent. And therefore, I'm thrilled that we have someone who's a professor in moral theology who's going to deliver this lecture. He is at the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome. He studied philosophy and theology in Pune, Delhi, and Rome, and he has previously trained in sciences and statistics in Chennai, in India. He has, of course, obtained his licentiate in moral theology from that very university, and he specializes in what is called environmental ethics. I'm sure that environmental ethics includes the rights of Adivasis, and in a dialogue between moral theology and communications. Now, I'm going to hand over to the professor, but before that, I will tell you that he will be speaking to you today about migration. And he makes a very, very interesting point when he says that all of us really are migrants from somewhere to somewhere. Which one of us is not a migrant, I would like to know. Migration is the rule of law. Migration is the way of the world. Migration is what makes us human. And so it will be a pleasure to hear him speak about migration. I cannot resist one last sentence, and that is that, as far as our present political dispensation is concerned, our Home Minister would call us all Kuspetias. We need to tell him we are not Kuspetias, and for that purpose we need, Professor Prem, your help in helping us to understand the phenomenon of migration. Let us not call it illegal migration, let us just call it migration. Thank you very much, Professor, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much, Senior Advocate Jaising ji. I'm going to start with a tribute to our beloved Stan Swamy. I would like to begin the annual Stan Swamy Memorial Lecture by paying my living tribute to him with the words of the Old Testament. Yahweh says to Moses, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. The call of the Lord was directed to the Israelites, which is repeated again and again in human history to the exploited, suffering, and distressed people. The same words definitely resounded in the ears of Father Stan Swamy when he witnessed the plight of the tribal people in Chotanagpur. Being born and brought up in the down south of India, he heard the voice of the Lord again saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? That are the words of Isaiah. He says, Here am I, send me. In 2006, when he opted Bagaicha in Ranchi as his center of activities, he was firm in repeating again and again, I will not be a silent spectator. And of course, he never was. I knew him personally in and through two Ranchi Jesuits, late Father Ranjit Pascal Toppo, the then Ranchi Jesuit Provincial, and Father Alex Ekka, Director of Jaber Institute of Social Service. To begin with, I quote Jean Dreze. He
he says, Swami's commitment to the rights and well-being of Adivasis was rooted in his lived experience among them. He was deeply influenced by Adivasi values and the Adivasi way of life, including the respect for nature, love of freedom, and cooperative spirit. He also had witnessed the ruthless exploitation of Adivasis by greedy traders, money lenders, and land grabbers. These experiences must have shaped his belief that we should be gentle with the powerless but implacable with their exploiters. Context of today's lecture: migration, a vital livelihood strategy. I'm not saying it is illegal migration, is an age-old, complex and multifaceted phenomenon integral to human existence and survival. Roti, kapda or makan, food, clothes and shelter are the most basic necessities of life, for which humans have migrated from one place to another since time immemorial. Over the decades, forced by poverty, lack of job opportunities and a bleak future, a significant number of tribal boys and girls from tribal areas of Assam, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, West Bengal, and the other 7 northeastern states of India have migrated to metropolitan cities in search of a better life. Air condition the cities varies from person to person. However, the life stories of women folk in their workplaces raises serious socio-ethical and anthropological questions. For any tribal girl, the mere fact of being uprooted from a closely linked tribal community and being placed in a strange land amidst strange people forces her to face a massive challenge to search for an identity and human dignity amidst innumerable untold miseries in the form of physical, sexual, psychological exploitations aggravated by low wages, unstable employment, and precarious working conditions. Her struggle to sustain socio-cultural, moral, and religious values offers an immense possibility of some deep socio-ethical and anthropological reflections on the situations of the worldwide domestic workers. And I'm going to focus on the tribal girls migrated to metropolitan cities from Jharkhand and surrounding states. Choice of the theme: I am grateful to Irfan Engineer for proposing this. It is this close to my heart. I am proud to say that I am in Oraon, and my grandfather Rao Oraon was the village Pahan or a priest whose legacy was later continued by his eldest son. I was born and brought up in a joint family with deep tribal roots. As an Oraon, I gratefully remember the dedication of Father Stan Swamy to fight for the cause of my people. I read from his eyes the plight of the tribal domestic working girls in various metropolitan cities of India. Being with them and working for them during my formation as a Jesuit scholastic compelled me to study their present situation and their future prospects amidst challenges, miseries, and despair. In 1998, I used to go on Sundays to Greater Kailash, a relatively posh locality of New Delhi. As a theology student of Vidya Jyoti Delhi, a Jesuit theology center was the social apostolate amidst the tribal domestic working girls. I had heard and read about them, but that was my first personal encounter with them. They had migrated to New Delhi to earn a living by working mostly in non-tribal families as ayahs or maid servants. Despite their precarious working conditions and constant physical, verbal, mental, sexual, emotional and psychological harassment, violence and exploitation, they seemed to be very happy and lively on Sundays. That was the only day when they had the chance to meet and share their sukham dukham, experiences of joys and sorrows, as it is known popularly. The church premises offered a perfect setup for their gathering. In the same year, we organized a common. I interacted with them to know and understand them more closely. In the same year, that is in 1998, we organized a common festival for all the tribals living in New Delhi. The occasion was the Karam festival, a feast celebrated the conclusion of the paddy transplantation by almost all tribal communities of North India. Seeing the huge crowd, I realized for the first time the magnitude of migration of the tribal girls to the metropolitan cities. As the master of ceremony to conduct the cultural activities with Father Ajit Kumar, I could visualize the euphoria in their faces and in their ways of singing and dancing, but I wondered how long such joy and excitement would last. After 15 years, I participated in one of the weekly meetings of a group of tribal domestic working girls held in the premises of the Indian Social Institute near New Delhi on 29 December 2013. Under the umbrella of Adivasi Jeevan Vikas Sanstha, Tribal Life Development Society, run by JESA, that is Jesuits in Social Action, around 200 girls, Christians as well as non-Christians, gathered every week in the Institute for the Holy Mass. They shared the living conditions and received legal and other logistic assistance. To keep in touch with their tribal roots, some cultural activities were also organized occasionally for and by them. I interviewed 25 girls from different social and religious backgrounds. Their stories and experiences represented the general feeling among those attending the regular Sunday meetings, instilling in them the sense of human dignity, helping them to see themselves as the images of God, inculcating their tribal roots and identity, and strengthening their innate communitarian spirit seem to be the major challenges. Over the years, many initiatives have been taken to improve the situation. Profiles of the tribal domestic workers. A few words. The majority of the domestic working girls hail from the tribal areas of Assam, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, West Bengal, and other 7 northeastern states of India. Right from the independence of India in 1947, all the successive federal and state governments have been interested only in exploiting the natural resources and pumping them away from the region, neglecting completely the development of the local populace. Development-oriented displacements have constantly forced the tribals away from the traditional land without any proper compensation or resettlement. The government and the multinationals set experience and skill as the terms and conditions for employment in factories or mine establishments, which most of the tribals do not have. Unfortunately, corruption and nepotism play a major role in bringing even the unskilled laborers from outside, leaving aside the tribals, excluded and marginalized, without work, without possibilities, without any means to escape, to fend for themselves. These tribals depend primarily on the produce of the field and for the forest for their subsistence. In the lack of proper irrigation facilities, their agriculture depends on the monsoon. Over the recent years, because of the climate change, the erratic monsoon, gradual deterioration and degradation of cultivable land, shrinking water resources, and insufficient agricultural produce have caused havoc in their life. Along with the produce of the land, they also depend on the forests for their livelihood. In the name of saving the forests, the forest officials have outlined various restrictions to prevent them from using the forest produce. With the two major sources of livelihood gradually being dried up, they are forced to migrate to other states as unskilled laborers to work in the agricultural fields, factories, or construction sites. In the field of education, the Christian missionaries have done extraordinary work in the entire tribal area. However, most of the tribal girls discontinue their studies after a certain stage because of the lack of resources. Rampant poverty and unemployment in the rural areas force them to migrate to the cities either willingly or unwillingly. Father John Lakda, a Jesuit from Ranchi who has done extensive research on the tribal, socio-cultural and religious traditions and customs, maintains that the tribals are basically simple, sincere and honest people, hardworking and having a wonderful sense of cooperation and community. True to his observation, the tribal girls by nature are simple, honest, sociable, soft-spoken, enduring, and extremely hardworking, and possess an inherent capacity to adjust to any situation or place. A large number of them, despite working in the field, running after the household animals and doing the daily chores, study hard and complete their graduate and postgraduate studies. However, one can imagine the life of a lone migrant young girl in a strange non-tribal family in a totally unknown place. For her, the mere fact of being uprooted from a closely knit tribal community and being placed alone in a strange land forces us to face a massive challenge to search for an identity and human dignity amidst innumerable untold miseries in the form of physical, sexual, and psychological exploitations. Probably we can remember the famous song of Abba, who says, "How can I sing the Lord's song in a strange land?" Pull-push factors and human trafficking. The age-old formula of demand and supply in the market economy can explain the pull-push factors of migration. Despite India being projected as one of the growing economic giants, an extremely uneven development is all evident in semi-urban and rural areas. Rich have become richer. Some have climbed the ladder of development to reach a totally new economic status. But a vast majority of the Indian population has remained untouched by the economic growth. The process of industrialization, urbanization, and modernization has opened up new possibilities and opportunities for employment, creating a new group of rich middle class. The growth of the urban middle class, especially the increase in the number of women working outside their homes and the availability of cheap domestic labor, function as a major pulling factor to attract the less privileged tribal communities for such labor. The rural setup offers almost negligible possibilities of any creative work or job opportunities to the tribal girls. Some of them observe the pathetic situation of their family members and peers who journey every day to the nearby cities in search of a daily wage. The construction companies or sub-rich families come to hire them for a day and pay according to their work. And this is a common scene in the streets of Ranchi today. Such scene represents the parable told by Jesus, for the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire workers for his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius for the day and sent them into the vineyard. Not all are hired for work. Some remain there till the end of the day and return home empty-handed. Living amidst such a desperate situation, if someone offers the possibility of a better life in the cities, the tribal girls do not hesitate to jump into the abyss of uncertainties and challenges. The prospect of earning money on their own and being able to help their families pull them to the cities, and the misery, poverty, helplessness and hopelessness work as the pushing factors. Amidst the pull and push factors of migration, human trafficking raises some serious ethical questions. For several decades, human trafficking has become a burning issue confronting the northern states of India. Almost every day, the newspapers are filled with the stories of tribal girls missing from a particular village. There are multiple groups at work behind the human trafficking. We'll deal with three. The first group is the mafia-type placement agencies, which charge a huge sum of money as a registration fee from those looking for a residential domestic worker. Their agents guarantee a regular supply by recruiting young girls from the impoverished semi-urban and rural areas. The agents receive thousands of rupees as commission and pay substantial kickbacks to the police to ensure the continuity of human trafficking. They roam around discreetly in the remote villages and take time patiently to identify possible victims. Befriend them through their peers and relatives. Once they gain their confidence, they lay a trap and cleverly and deceitfully convince them of good jobs and a better life in the city. If a group of girls is ready and willing, a meticulous plan is drafted to traffic them out of village via bus and railroads. The second group of human traffickers comprises of the relatives and friends. Their method is the same as the first group. The major difference is that the persons in this case are known to the victims and their families, and so laying the trap becomes easy and result is fast. While living with the possible victims, they almost brainwash them by selling the dream of a better life in the cities. On the pretext of taking the victims to the house of another relative or friend or to a public function, they traffic them to the cities. The third group of human traffickers are the domestic working girls themselves, who return to their native village for their holidays. Quite often, they already make a commitment before leaving for home to bring 1 or 2 girls along with them at the conclusion of their holidays. Some girls choose willingly to go to the cities and even encouraged by their parents to go because the options are limited at home. Once trafficked into the cities, the girls are handed over either to placement agencies for a hefty commission or directly employed in some families. Some are even sold to the brothels. The newly trafficked girls are kept with other girls in a small room, just enough to sleep and cook with little space for privacy until they are employed by someone. Once employed, their daily routine includes cleaning, sweeping, swabbing and dusting, washing clothes and dishes, or even putting machine-washed clothes on the clotheslines and folding them. Cooking a part of meal, ironing, housekeeping, and extensions of these outside the home, such as shopping. Despite all these works, their living and working conditions are pathetic, with no limits on working hours, no respect for their work, no protection or social security from physical, mental, and sexual exploitations. Their employer forces them to bring a substitute when they are sick or want to take leave in case of an emergency. Without any formal contract, they live under constant fear that their services can be terminated at any point of time. The fear of being replaced by their substitutes keeps them from reporting the sickness to their employer. Sometimes they are thrown out of the house on the pretext of theft or no work. In most cases, the FIR is never registered. The lack of knowledge of the legal procedure or little confidence in complaint mechanisms or stigma due to breach in confidentiality can also be responsible for their silence. Unfortunately, there is neither a community nor a structural support system to pursue such cases, which in turn encourages human trafficking. A few case studies. In April 2012, Delhi police arrested a doctor couple who had locked up their 13-year-old domestic working girl in their apartment and gone for holidays in Thailand. You can see the picture. Second case, in October 2013, a teenage girl from Jharkhand was rescued from her employer, who tortured her so badly that at the time of her rescue, she had severe head injuries and wounds on almost every part of her body. She was ill-treated, abused verbally and physically, beaten almost every day, so much so that she was forced to drink urine and made to sleep in the bathroom. After the public uproar, both husband and wife were arrested by the police. The girl was treated by a charitable agency and later sent back to her native village in Jharkhand. Third case, in May 2018, a 16-year-old girl from eastern Jharkhand state was strangled and her body chopped up and dumped in a drain earlier the month after she demanded a year's unpaid salary from the employment agency that hired her. Fourth case, in February 2023, Indian police and social workers rescued a battered and bruised 14-year-old from the home in Delhi suburb where she worked as a domestic helper. Unfortunately, such stories create momentous public uproar or raise merely a flicker of curiosity, but rarely become an issue to be pursued. My interviews with the 25 young domestic working girls on 29 December 2013 in Indian Social Institute, New Delhi, made some startling revelations. Although some girls seem to enjoy good treatment, respect and freedom in their workplace, they are reminded time and again by different people and circumstances that ultimately they are the maid, servants or ayahs. Not having any other option, they face all challenges and instances of abuses and humiliations with tremendous courage and patience. Not all the case studies present a gloomy state of tribal domestic girls. My own younger brother had 4 maid servants from Jharkhand over a period of 15 years. The first one remained for 2 years and the second one went back to her village only to get married. The other 2 remained for 1 year each. My brother and sister-in-law desperately needed someone to take care of their 2 children and the house while both of them were away at work for the whole day. My sister-in-law did scold and abuse them sometimes. Nonetheless, they were taken good care of their overall well-being. They participated in almost all family activities such as meals, prayers and social festivals. There are many such cases where the domestic working girls are adopted like one of the family members in an atmosphere of respect, confidence, and mutual trust. Some fundamental ethical questions. Most of the tribal girls whom I interviewed and interacted with me during my formation period seemed to be happy and content with their work and their working conditions. But their feeling of being alone, abandoned and away from home often tortured and traumatized them. Even if they received good treatment by their employers, the maid servants mentally invariably sprung forth and again to segregate them from the rest of the family. During my recent interaction with them, it surfaced again that the biggest pain for them was not being treated as equal human beings. Unfortunately, the derogatory terms used and the negative attitude shown towards them by their own tribal community members seem to even be more painful and agonizing. Often they are called as the lal pal sari or red bordered sari to distinguish from the other tribal communities. Their life experience raised some serious ethical questions regarding the concept of a human being, respect, dignity, and role of faith in instilling those values in their life. Is migration the only answer? Migration definitely an age-old phenomenon. From time immemorial, people have moved from one place to the another to escape poverty, misery, threat and danger with the hope of peace, prosperity and security. Today, the socio-cultural and economic situation of both the domestic working girls and their home states raise some serious questions regarding their migration to metropolitan cities. Can the plight of the tribal girls and the outsourcing of their talents, creativity and tremendous energy be justified in the name of survival and subsistence? Can their workforce not be used to transform their own homeland? These questions have been tormenting the tribal communities for a long time. and they seem to be perplexed in searching for an adequate answer. The efforts to outflow of the girls by the local people and the civic bodies have not yielded satisfactory results. The government of Jharkhand, for example, has offered compulsory free education to the girls, mid-day meals to the students, job opportunities in rural areas through the construction of roads, bridges, wells and ponds. But the rampant corruption, malfeasance and nepotism eat up more than half of the resources meant for the projects and thus perpetuate the poverty and misery of the local population. Second question is maintaining traditional values and tribal identity in a foreign land. Simplicity, honesty, hard work, and the spirit of sharing and communion, interdependence and community life are some of the fundamental tribal values. Along with language, socio-cultural traditions, customs and practices, the tribal identity is encapsulated in 5 J's of their worldview: Jan, Janwar, Jal, Jameen and Jungle, that is humans, animals, water, land and forest. Being born and brought up in a closely knit community, the tribal domestic workers encountered the first cultural shock when they are employed in a non-tribal family, alone and isolated from the others. They face stiff challenge to maintain their traditional values and their identity. Often they succeed in adapting themselves to the new situation and integrate their traditional values with a new category of values of the non-tribal society. Sunday meetings and other social activities help them to strengthen the bond, tribal roots and avoid socio-cultural annihilation. Third question is respect, human dignity and justice. The Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. According to Irenaeus of Lyon, the glory of God is a human being fully alive, and the life of the humanity is the vision of God. These words immediately captured the imagination of the victims of injustice, ill treatment, abuse, disrespect and exploitation. The general ill treatment meted out to the tribal domestic workers is rooted basically in the slave or servant-owning Indian psyche. Their own tribal people who are well educated, trained and skilled and are working in private or public sectors show little or no respect for them and for their work. Even in their own native villages, there are many prejudices against them. The villagers suspect them of being infected by sexually transmitted diseases or even HIV positive, and hence marriage remains a distant dream for them. Nevertheless, it is significant to note that a majority of workers with a history of domestic work did not perceive it as a disgraceful or undignified. Women who had no other support systems also did not view it as a humiliating or shameful. Most of them do not bother about others' perception. We have to note the role of the church has been distinctive and extremely commendable in seeking justice for the tribal domestic workers by offering them legal assistance, instilling in them self-esteem, respect and dignity by organizing socio-cultural and religious activities. Along with the run church agencies, the sincere efforts of the other non-governmental agencies are yielding desirable results in instilling in them dignity and self-esteem by making them realize that they possess fundamental, inalienable rights that must be respected by everyone and in every circumstances. What are the future prospects that are built on hopes? The preamble of the International Labour Organization on Domestic Workers held in Geneva on 1st June 2011 recognized the significant contribution of domestic workers to the global economy, which includes increasing paid job opportunities for women and men with family responsibilities, greater scope for caring for aging populations, children and persons with a disability, and substantial income transfers within and between countries. The Convention outlined clear guidelines on terms and conditions of employment, wages, working hours, effective protection against all forms of abuse, harassment and violence, social security, and the avoidance of child labor. Unfortunately, domestic work is not recognized as work by the Indian government. The state does not value or recognize this work as a contribution to society and the economy. If the government of India implemented the ILO recommendations, the domestic workers would have enjoyed the rights and provisions like any other worker of the organized sector and acquired confidence, self-esteem, and dignity for what they are and for what they do. Paradoxically, without the domestic workers, work, even though not recognized by the government as work, the thriving middle class of Indian metropolitan cities would definitely crumble. Therefore, the globalization of indifference toward them must end, and the rights and privileges must be ascertained and recognized legally. For the moment, improving their working conditions, guaranteeing respect and dignity for their work and their person, and adequate wage, access to health care, right to rest, and to have regular contact with their parents and peers have to urgently and adequately addressed. Various charitable institutions and non-governmental organizations are working to improve the situations and to force the government to ratify recommendations of the ILO conventions on domestic workers. The formation of an autonomous statutory body with compulsory registration of employer, employee, and agency would be a great step forward. In recent years, many government schemes have been launched as incentives for the girls and women to ensure economic security, self-employment, and independence. The Maya Saman Yojana, launched by Sri Hemant Soren, Chief Minister of Jharkhand, is a laudable initiative. Now I have put up a song, what is popularly sung in Chotanagpur and Jharkhand area and other places, that shows how the people themselves are trying to encourage the girls not to migrate just for the sake of money, but to try to build their own homeland, to develop their own homeland. And it says very well, Uncha Nicha Pahad Parvat, Nadi Nala, Haire Amar Chotanagpur. Why did you forget? Why did you leave it? Why did you go to Assam, Bhutan, in leaving your own green country? Indeed, there is hope for the future, but that hope can take a concrete form if and only if their work is recognized. The rights are guaranteed by some specific laws, and are given due respect for what they do and what they are as human beings. Finally, I will repeat the words that have already been given here. As long as the fight for justice continues, Father Stan Swamy lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Father PREM XALXO, for that very inspiring, apt lecture in memory of Father Stan Swamy. As the program is coming to an end, I now invite Astrid is there? Yeah. To deliver vote of thanks. And after vote of thanks, if you have appetite to hear a poem composed on Father Stan Swamy by Arun Chandra Gauri in Marathi, with your permission, I'll read that poem, if you all have that appetite. But after the vote of thanks. That poem is going to be in Marathi and it won't be translated.
It is my privilege and honor to raise the vote of thanks for this event that has brought so many from across India to stand for Father Stan Swamy, a true citizen of India whose life has been a testimony to the democratic principles enshrined in our Constitution, that is, equality for all. In fact, in the very powerful film that we saw, we heard him say, "I want to make something of my life for these people, the Adivasis of Jharkhand." This was his dream. I'd like to begin by thanking our speaker of this evening, Professor PREM XALXO, a Jesuit professor in Rome, himself a tribal from the Chota Nagpur region, for bringing alive Stan Swamy's mission by making us see the struggles and powerlessness of the tribals of Jharkhand and continuing the legacy of advocacy for the marginalized. Thank you, Father PREM, for the very inspiring talk, sharing with us the stories of tribal girls migrating to large cities and the challenge that it is to instill in them a sense of their human dignity and to inculcate pride in their tribal roots and identity. Thank you for making us aware of the dangers that these young women face when they come to the cities and for emphasizing the need for safeguards for these young women. You also raised a number of ethical questions for us to reflect on, and I think one of the most critical ones was, is migration the answer? I'd like to give extend a very special thanks to our renowned advocate Indira Jaising for taking the valuable time to be with us today. She focused a lot on, what she called the struggle for the fight, the struggle that is the nature of the struggle, that is the fight for land rights. And she summed it up very aptly in the line taken from the law, which said that forests and forest dwellers are inseparable. Thank you, ma'am. I'd also like to thank Advocate Mihir Desai, a very prominent human rights lawyer who has stood by Father Stan Swamy right throughout, representing him in the High Court, and even after that, continuing the cause at every opportunity that he has got. Thank you for giving us the inside story of the arrest of Stan Swamy and giving us insights into his life. I think you made a very, you rightly pointed out that after his death, Stan Swamy has become a martyr, and probably his impact is much stronger and has got a wider reach than when he was alive. Today we are witnessing a rare occasion in which 57 civil society organizations, human rights groups, and academic forums from India and abroad have come together to show their solidarity with Stan Swamy and the plight of migrants, as well as to express their belief in the freedom of academic institutions. It would take too long for me to name all these organizations, but we are truly grateful for their support, which came like a life-giving, flowing river. Holding this together and taking the lead in planning the event has been Advocate Irfan Engineer, Director of the Center for Study of Society and Secularism. He took our suggestions and made them reality. He was ably assisted by his team, Dia Samir, Program Coordinator, and Neha Dabkhare, Executive Director of CSSS. They did all the grunt work, coordinating with the organizing team, contacting people, implementing suggestions, chasing online portals, and doing the million things that need to be done for an event of this magnitude. A big thank you to you. The organizing team that has met on Zoom and communicated constantly on WhatsApp must be specially commended for being there, offering assistance at every turn. The interactions on our meetings and the WhatsApp groups have always been very positive and focused, and everybody has always been ready to offer help. We came from all walks of life and different organizations, united only for the cause. There was Jesuits Fraser Mascarenas, Anthony Dias, Cedric Prakash, activist Mihir Desai, Chanika Shah, Sandhya Gokhale, Shweta Tambe, Dolphy D'Souza, Abhijit, John Dal, Lara Jasani, Sanjay Makwan, Vinod Narona, and there were others. If I've forgotten anybody, please forgive me. There is also a very, very long list of people whose names I do not have, people who have mobilized crowds across the country, and to them we owe our deep gratitude. Well, getting a venue that too at such short notice is not an easy task, and we were able to get this majestic YB Chauhan Center, all thanks to Viplav Wagare and Aditi Nalawade. Many, many thanks to you. We have the live streaming here, thanks to Firoz Malik. Also, I'd like to I'd like to make a special thanks to all our media people, because they are the ones who've given us good coverage already before the event, and we're looking forward to them continuing to be the voice and of Father Stan Swamy in their words and in whatever whatever media presentations that they have. And finally, a very big thank you to each and every one of you. Those of you who have here in Mumbai have made it to this venue at YB Chauhan, as well as those who are on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom, and who are with us today because you stand for the principles that Stan Swamy upheld and are in solidarity with the people of Jharkhand with whom he journeyed. Thank you for creating a groundswell of support. Thank you for creating a groundswell of support for the freedom of academic institutions. And finally, I'd like to end with the words that we just heard from PREM XALXO, which is, as long as the fight for justice continues, Father Stan Swamy lives. Thank you.
I must thank the person who elaborately thanked everyone. Astrid, she was part of this organizing team, and the CSS team that worked day and night also include Kishore Bhagat, Sandeep Gupta, Dawood Khan, and Rajat Poonam. If I have your permission, I'll read the poem. It was written by Arun Chandra Gauri, and when I mentioned this, somebody shared this poem with us and desired that the poem be read. तो मेलाय त्याला मारलंय, तो पडलाय निश्चित पडलाय, खरं तर संपलाय पहा, त्याचे डोळे निस्तेज नसले तरी मिटलेलेच आहेत. होय, तो पालथा पडूनही त्याचा त्याच्या अवकाशाचा बापाला शरण गेलाय. आम्हाला नाही म्हणजे काय? वस्तुतः या देशातल्या असंख्य लोकांना औषधोपचार घेणं शक्य नसतं, तोही कारागृहात. वृद्धत्वातल्या दुर्धर रोगांमुळेच गेलाय. इतरांसारखा औषधाविनाच. तरीही तुम्ही आम्हालाच दोषी ठरवताय. खून म्हणे आम्ही खून केलाय. कुठल्या कायद्याखाली तुम्ही आम्हाला खूनी ठरवताय? लोक हो, या देशात जंगली कायद्यांचा का होईना राज्य अस्तित्वातच आहेत. न्याय दृश्य व्यवस्थाही या देशातल्या देवतेसमोर आम्हाला उभे करा. तुम्हाला योग्य तोच न्याय मिळेल. तसं बघितलं तर या नसलेल्या देशातल्या जंगली कायद्यानुसार तो निःसंदिग्धपणे देशद्रोहीच होता. आमच्या पृथ्वीवरच्या सर्वश्रेष्ठ धर्मानुसार त्याला त्याचा कर्माचा फळ मिळाला इतकंच. त्यामुळे आमचा निषेध कशासाठी? लक्षात ठेवा, अगदी जंगली कायद्यानुसार सुद्धा नुसते आरोप करून चालत नाही, तर तो पुराव्यानिशी अस्तित्वातच नसलेल्या न्याय देवतेसमोर सिद्ध करावेच लागतात. म्हणे आम्ही खुनी आहोत. तो म्हातारा कुणासाठी कशासाठी निशस्त्र लढत होता? हे कसले फालतू प्रश्न? तो मेलाय त्याच्याच कर्मानं. यात आमचा संबंध काय? या नसलेल्या देशात पूर्वीपासूनच अगदी बुड्ढा अर्धापासूनही असल्या मरणाची प्रथाच आहे. आणि तसंच तो मेलाय, संपवला गेला नाहीये. हे सत्य नसलं तरी ते तुम्हाला मान्य करावंच लागेल. यात या महान देशाचं भलं आहे. चला आता प्रार्थना म्हणूया. ओम शांती शांती शांती. Thank you all for being here. We had a great evening. We proved that we stand for principles, for democracy, for freedom of expression. Thank you, all of you, once again. Thanks all.